Some faces stay with us forever, etched in our memories. They're not just faces from the screen, but symbols of joy, comfort, and laughter. And when we lose them, it's like we lose a little piece of the past, a part of our lives we can never get back. Brian Murphy, the beloved actor known for his portrayal of George Roper in the iconic 1970s sitcoms Man About the House and George and Mildred, was one of those faces. The world was a little quieter the morning Brian Murphy passed away. Fans, friends, and family alike felt a deep emptiness upon hearing of the actor's death at the age of 92. Brian, whose name had become synonymous with humor and warmth through iconic British sitcoms like Man About the House and George and Mildred, left behind a legacy that touched generations of viewers. But on February 4th, 2025, the world gathered to say goodbye to a man whose influence stretched far beyond the small screen. His funeral was a deeply emotional affair, as family and loved ones, including his wife Linda Reagan, prepared to honor a life well lived. Linda, who had been by Brian's side for many years, expressed her heartbreak with a poignant message. "I was lucky to have found my soulmate in this lifetime," she wrote. "Brian, who I will love forever." For Linda, this wasn't just the loss of a husband, it was the loss of someone who had been a constant presence in her life, a man whose laughter and love had shaped her world. Brian's family, including his two sons Trevor and Kevin from his first marriage, were also there to say their farewells. The loss of a father, especially one as kind-hearted as Brian, was not easy. Trevor and Kevin, standing close to the coffin, could barely hold back their tears. Their father had been a man of integrity, humor, and patience, and while their own grief was profound, they knew that their father had lived a life that touched so many. As they reflected on their memories of Brian, they spoke not just of his success in acting, but of his warmth, how he had been the anchor in their lives, always there when they needed him most. At the church, a sense of reverence filled the air. It was clear that Brian Murphy was not just a beloved actor. He was a man who had made an impact on every life he touched. Those who had known him professionally and personally spoke of his incredible kindness. Thomas Bowington, Brian's longtime agent and close friend, shared his memories of the actor. "Brian was one of the most joyful and profoundly good-hearted men I've ever known," Bowington said, his voice filled with admiration and sorrow. His humanity shone through every role he took on, and it wasn't just in his performances, but in his everyday life. As Bowington's words filled the room, there was a collective sense of gratitude for having known such a man. It was hard not to feel the weight of loss as the mourners listened to Bowington's tribute. Everyone who spoke about Brian spoke not just of his talent, but of his character, his ability to make others feel valued, loved, and respected. He had a rare gift, one that many in the entertainment industry spend their entire careers trying to cultivate. Brian was not just an actor who made people laugh. He was a man who brought joy into the lives of those around him, and it was clear from the outpouring of tributes that his impact went far beyond the roles he played on screen. His funeral was also a time for reflection on the remarkable career Brian had built over the decades. His journey had begun in the early 1950s when he joined Joan Littlewood's theater workshop. It was in this pioneering company, known for its dedication to modernizing theater and making it accessible to working-class audiences, that Brian honed his craft. He performed in Shakespeare productions and appeared in Littlewood's only feature-length film, Sparrows Can't Sing. His time in the theater workshop had a profound impact on him, shaping the actor he would become, a man who believed in the power of storytelling to connect people and to bring about change. But it was his roles in Man About the House and George and Mildred that truly made Brian a household name. His portrayal of George Roper in Man About the House was groundbreaking for its time. The show, which explored the dynamics between a man living with two women, pushed boundaries and made audiences rethink relationships and gender roles. Brian's character, George, was a bit of a lovable fool, bumbling his way through life, but his sincerity and good nature made him utterly relatable. Fans instantly warmed to him, and his chemistry with co-stars Paula Wilcox, Sally Tomsett, and Eutha Joyce made the show one of the most popular sitcoms of the 1970s. After the success of Man About the House, Brian reprised his role as George in the spin-off series George and Mildred, which followed the characters as they navigated life in the suburbs. Once again, Brian's portrayal of George resonated with viewers, as they watched him try to keep the peace between his domineering wife Mildred, played by the unforgettable Eutha Joyce, and the colorful characters in their neighborhood. It was this ability to make even the most mundane situations feel heartfelt and relatable that made Brian's work so beloved. The world had come to adore George Roper, not because of his cleverness, but because of his humanity, his ability to laugh at himself, his genuine love for his wife, and his enduring sense of optimism. Even after George and Mildred, Brian's career continued to flourish. He appeared in a wide range of television shows, from Last of the Summer Wine to Benidorm and Holby City. But no matter how many roles he took on, fans never forgot George Roper. It was the character that defined him, the one that audiences most closely associated with his name. Brian's legacy was more than just the sum of his roles. It was about how those roles made people feel. In a world where laughter is sometimes hard to come by, Brian brought joy to the lives of millions, and that was something truly special. Throughout the funeral service, as memories of his career were shared, it became clear that Brian's legacy was not just about his roles on television. It was about the way he lived his life. He was a man who had touched the lives of so many, not just through his work, but through his kindness, generosity, and sense of humor. He had the rare ability to make everyone around him feel like they were a part of something special. His death was a reminder of how important it is to cherish the people in our lives, for we never know when they will no longer be with us. The funeral itself was a moving celebration of this legacy. As the service continued, memories were shared not just of Brian's work, but of the joy he brought to everyone around him. His infectious laughter, his warm smile, and his generosity of spirit were mentioned time and time again. The stories told at the funeral were not just about an actor, but about a man who had made life better for everyone who knew him. His colleagues spoke of his professionalism, his kindness, and his willingness to help others in any way he could. For Brian, acting wasn't just about performing, it was about making a difference, about connecting with others and bringing something positive into their lives. The funeral was not just about saying goodbye. It was about celebrating everything Brian had accomplished and the lasting impact he had made. The world had lost a true talent, a man who had made millions laugh. But his legacy would continue through the laughter he had given to others. His work would live on in the hearts of those who had followed his career and in the characters he had portrayed. As the service drew to a close, Brian's family and friends stood in quiet reflection, knowing that though he was gone, he would never be forgotten. Linda's final words to Brian were simple, yet deeply meaningful. "My love for you will never die," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Those words encapsulated everything about Brian's life, a life full of love, warmth, and the kind of joy that can only come from a person who gave so much of themselves to others. As the mourners paid their last respects and the coffin was lowered into the ground, there was a sense of peace. Brian had lived a full life, and though he was gone, his spirit would remain. The days following Brian's funeral were filled with tributes from fans, colleagues, and friends. It was clear from the outpouring of affection and admiration that Brian's impact went far beyond his time on screen. His kindness, his ability to make others feel special, and his unwavering optimism were qualities that had touched everyone he met. His career had brought him fame, but it was his heart that had earned him the love and respect of those around him. Brian Murphy's funeral marked the end of an era, but it also marked the beginning of his enduring legacy. As fans continued to watch his shows and laugh at the characters he had brought to life, they would always remember the man behind the laughter. Brian Murphy was more than just an actor. He was a beloved figure who had touched the hearts of millions. And as long as his work lived on, so too would his memory.